Hello, folks. Welcome to Business Spotlight. My guest today has made a fantastic career out of developing commercial propositions in the education sector, which is one that is quite unusual for a lot of you. He's the country manager for Optoma. I'm delighted to welcome my guest today is Ben Brown from Optoma. It's great to see you, Ben. Thank you so much for joining. Let's dive straight in, Ben. You've been around the education sector all your career, and you're really strong and accomplished in that sector. Can you tell me the story about how you came to compete in that part of the market?
It's an interesting one. My mother was a teacher, so I was always going to end up in education somewhere, but I wasn't sure I necessarily wanted to be a teacher. I suppose I fell into technology a little bit by accident. I was doing procurement for an IT company, and someone came down to me one day and said, look, with a mouth like yours, you probably should be doing sales. So I got invited upstairs, and I've never gone back downstairs again since.
As I said, you made a great career out of it, and I know that you're also actively involved in education in your spare time as well, because you're a trustee of a school, right? But tell me, what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've found in building your career in that sector, and how did you overcome them?
You need to have a lot of luck, actually. I think I think there's a lot of people who've got really great skill sets. That's one of my things as a manager, is to try and find those skill sets. But I had some real fortune, obviously going to work for companies like Hewlett Packard and Samsung. A lot of that was being in the right place at the right time. But I think also it's about building your own brand and what you do. And I think that what I did over all of that time was learnt off the people that I work with. Took the skills and the strengths that they had and tried to take some of those and build them into my own package. And I think over time managed to do that. And as I said, was in the right place at the right time a number of times and move forward because of that. And I think once you've got that experience and you know how to work within those businesses, you add a lot of value to other businesses as well.
So let's dive into that a bit more then. How did you go about building a great, strong customer base in all of those businesses in the education sector, and how did you build your brand as well?
For me, it's very much around the channel. So you as a vendor have been most of that time. Then I've also worked at the other end as well, and understanding how your partners work with their customers, how you are going to work with your customers alongside those partners, and building a really strong channel is absolutely key to the success. I think you would like to always be the main brand in front of your customer, but if you're not selling direct, and I've always really worked within the channel, then it's really important that you take those partners with you. You build strong relationships, you make working with the business that you're working with, you make your business valuable to your partners, but also very much to those end users as well. And it's been really key to me to build those strong relationships throughout that channel and make sure that there's a lot of trust within the whole of that route to market.
You've mentioned quite a few or several large international brands, electronics brands, technology brands. How do you foster innovation and creativity within those organizations?
I think it's quite difficult. And I think especially the younger I was slightly more process driven, and those businesses are very process driven. But I think as I've developed and as I've grown, I've really looked to try and allow people to use their own strengths to be able to support you. I always look at building a strong team around me. I've got plenty of weaknesses as well as strengths, and making sure I fill those gaps is absolutely key, because they will see things very different to how I will. And also saying to people, don't be afraid to take a risk. Come to me with plans, come to me with ideas, because I don't think of everything. And if you've got a good plan behind that, it's a well-reasoned reason to take that risk or to change what we're doing. Then let's give it a go. Let's see how that works, and let's try and see it. And that, hopefully you continue to move forward. If you ever stand still, you're actually going backwards. So it's really important to try and always find ways to move forward what you're doing.
You mentioned about risk there and managing risk and taking risk, Ben. Have there been some pivotal moments or decisions that have significantly impacted the businesses where you've worked?
There was one large multinational business that I worked for that I built a good number of years. Their education business, and we created massive pipeline for some really great products, but we were a very small part of what that multinational was. And so they were quite quick to remove those products, take them away. And I actually took a view that I couldn't continue to drive those products and those services into our partners and into customers when I knew we might not be able to fulfill them because of the way that that business worked. And I actually chose to step away from that business and take on a new role, because I talked about honesty earlier, and I think if you lose that integrity and that honesty with the channel and with your customers, actually you're not seen as a valid proposition, especially in education, which really do hold those two things very dear.
So you mentioned a setback there. Setback is an inevitable part of any entrepreneurial journey or business journey. How do you manage setbacks, and what lessons have you learned from the ones that you've experienced?
You just mentioned it, learn lessons from them. There's always setbacks, and I've talked about taking risks, and I've become far more open to risk as I've grown. I would say that now I'm much more keen to take those risks, but reasonably often they don't work out. You hope that a lot more work out than don't, otherwise that's a problem, and normally they do if they're well thought out and they're well planned. But I think when they don't go right, learn from them. And many times have I tried something that hasn't worked, and actually, because I took that risk, it's actually shown me the right way to do it. And I think it's really important. You can self-evaluate where things have gone. Don't be too stubborn. I mean, don't be too stubborn. That's one of the things I would say to anyone. If something's not working, don't worry about it. Let's have a look at why it's not working. You take it away, adapt it, come back and go again. So, look, I think risks are really important. You talked about innovation. Absolutely, innovation comes from that risk. But I think the most important thing you do learn is actually, to learn to take a step back when you have done something that hasn't worked, and then it will probably show you the right way forward.
You've got a senior role in a large international organization, so you're a busy guy career-wise. You also give up a lot of your time through volunteering as a trustee in an educational setup as well. How do you maintain a work-life balance and avoid burnout?
I have to be honest, I've been one of these people who I work well with busy hands, actually. I like to be busy. However, I've also got a fairly young family. So with that young family, they rely on me a lot as well, and I rely on them. As you've just talked about, stop burnout and that mental sustainability of being able to work is very much helped by having that young family and the relief that they give me. I think one thing I would say is I keep my weekends for that. I'm not a big weekend worker. That doesn't mean you don't, because as you know, sometimes it's called upon. But during the week I'm working a lot. I like to go to the gym. That's one way I always clear my head. Try and go to the gym before you get home in the evening. Clears the head. Family don't have to deal with any of the work things that have happened. Get a bit of time with them in the evening before maybe catching up again. And at the weekends, then really that is their time.
And look, you've had some great growth stories and successes across your career. Have there been any strategies that work well in the sector that you'd be happy to share?
Absolutely. I think for me, it's that mixture of supporting the channel, but also engaging the end user. I mean, you need your channel to be able to deliver your products and your services into your customers, but knowing your customer, that I became a trustee because I've made a career out of education. I felt I should give something back, but I can't tell you how much being a trustee has given back to me and my career from understanding those end users. So if you're looking to move into any new sector, and I don't use education as the only one there, where I am now, especially retail is an absolute key part, is get to know the end users, get to understand what are their key drivers, and then solve those problems. And I think as long as you're looking to do that, that is absolutely key to being successful.
The technology sector that you're in is notoriously fast-paced. How on earth do you stay ahead of trends and technologies to make sure that the business that you're leading remains competitive?
Yeah, really good question, actually. I think it's very easy to be quite insular and look into your business. I go back to what I said previously. I think knowing the challenges of customers will actually drive what technology is successful. You've got to be solving problems. If you're solving problems for your customers, then you're up to date. And I think also being outward facing, seeing what other people are doing, see what technologies are coming around the line. You know, whenever I go to shows or these types of things, I'm always looking at what looks like the next thing, what's getting the most interest here. Might not always be the right thing for us as a business, but if you don't understand what else is going on out there, then it can leave you a little bit exposed when the time comes.
You've had a fantastic career with a lot of success along the way, but you know there would have been probably some mistakes or slip-ups. So, what words of advice would you give if you could have your time again? What words of advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
Definitely not to support the same football team as me. That would be the first bit. It would have saved him a lot of grief. But I think no, I think actually within business, the first one is don't take it personally. There's a lot of times within my career that if I'd have taken something really personally, where either I've been told no, or even you know, something particularly challenging has happened, like being made redundant. You know, those kind of things. You can take those really personally, but actually don't. It's business. And actually, you know, there's a reason for it. And every time that has happened to me, it has opened up a door, and that door has probably given me better opportunity than if I'd have stayed in the current position, current situation that was in. So don't take things personally. When you get a bit of a knock, just, you know, stand back up, have a look around, and then suddenly there might be a ray of light out there. And I would say that to be honest, to anyone, is I know it's tough sometimes, but don't take it personally. Stand back up, and then you'll be able to move forward with what you're going to do in your career.
Ben, it's been fantastic to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. I've enjoyed it.
Folks, if you'd like to come and share your story like Ben has just done, we'd love to see you on Business Spotlight. Just comment below, and we'd love to get you on. Until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.